Hey guys, welcome to TWR. Today we're going to do a review on do Glock PMAGs suck versus factory Glock magazines. Short answer is yes, Glock PMAGs actually do kind of suck. I bought at least like half a dozen of these. I forget the exact number, but it was at least half a dozen. And I shot them for about a year training, and I put probably around 2,500 rounds through them, and just one by one they started to have issues and failures to feed, wanting to get stuck, the followers getting stuck and stuff like that. And so I used them about a year, and then they just started having issues one after another. So I stopped using them, and now I only use them basically for dry fire training, practicing, reloading, for demos for students and that kind of thing. That's really all they're kind of good for, because you can't use them, for any sort of duty like use, and basically just use them for students, and like there's not really any other use for them because they just don't work right. Like they're not reliable. They're not reliable magazines. Which sucks, but you just got to figure out like what you want to put your money into, because I've been shooting Glocks for 9 years, and I still have my original Glock mags from the very beginning, my very first like factory Glock magazines, and they still work great. 9 years, over, I would say in the low end, 15,000 rounds through these guys. Most likely I've probably actually shot more, on the upwards of 25,000 to 30,000 rounds through Glock mags. Just knowing how much I train, and the amount of rounds I shoot per range trip, which is usually anywhere between, depends on the day, 200 to 400 rounds, 300 like it as an average. So every range trip between that much, like, these only lasted a year. These guys have still lasted, and it's been 9 years. I've not had to change springs out of these or anything. They just work. I mean, these are a little bit cheaper, the PMAGs, but factory Glock mags are going to be a better bang for your buck, because they may be a little more expensive, but in the long run you're going to use this for 9 years, and these guys are not going to use after a year of training. So I mean, what should you buy? I would buy these, and I do buy these. This is all I buy. I've not tried any other magazines, simply because after trying the PMAGs, I'm like, if PMAG can't get a Glock mag right, then I'm just going to stick with the regular factory magazines, which I am, and they've been great. So yeah, I've shot 15,000 rounds, guys. That's a lot of ammunition, and that's on the low end. It's probably more like 20 plus thousand rounds, 25, 30. So, like, that's a lot of shooting. And it's been a long time, like just normal wear and tear after 9 years of shooting these guys. So my oldest mags I have are 9 years old. My newest mags I have are, I bought like a bunch of those 24 rounders, and I think those are like 9 months. I don't use those as much, but I did want to buy some just to have some more higher capacity magazines. So anyways, yeah, just like normal wear and tear on the magazines themselves, like they've been great, and they still function fine. They had those, metal inserts in here, which I'm sure helps compared to these PMAGs just have these polymer ones. I don't know the exact model of this one, but on the body it says PMAGS 17 GL9. I'm guessing GL9 is the model. I don't know. 17 rounders. I have some 15 rounders here somewhere, and so just having that kind of like metal feed lip, like just like having that metal feed lip and like construction on the inside of the Glock mags just makes them more reliable and over a longer time of being used. This polymer that they have on these Glock ones just don't work well. So these Glock mags, they have these metal inserts that work so much better at holding your rounds than these guys. Like these guys, over time they just start to come apart, and then your rounds just start messing up. The other great thing about the factory mags over the Glock mags, or the PMAGS, is the PMAGs do have a window for 17 rounds, but with your factory mags, you have these windows here. I'm not going to show. You have these windows here for these witness holes, so you can see how many rounds you have, versus this guy that just has when it's full, so it doesn't have anything else. So you can see exactly how many rounds you have in here versus this, which is very nice. So it's a little bit more money, but just gotta really think about, if you're gonna spend this money, you need a lot of these. If you're gonna start training and learn your craft of gunfighting, you need something reliable. You need a lot of them. Like I don't know how many Glock magazines. I have so many now. Definitely over a dozen. And so like these guys are going to only last you a year versus 9 years. So you're really investing your money. It's a better investment to invest in these guys, because after 9 years you're going to still be using them, versus these guys you're going to use for maybe a year, and then they're basically useless. So there's like no reason really to waste your money. So yeah, Glock PMAGs kind of suck. So I wouldn't recommend them for anything besides maybe plinking or just dry fire practice. For anything serious, use Glock's factory magazines. They're great. They'll last you. You're not going to have really any issues with them. So that's basically it, you guys. If you do start training a lot, don't be surprised if even with factory magazines you do have malfunctions. Most of the malfunctions I've had with Glocks is usually ammunition related, like with using the factory magazines. Usually it's like light primer strike. And magazines are also really important, because like if a gun has issues, it's usually due to the magazine design. Most guns, a lot of guns these days, they will ship with a aftermarket magazine because it's less expensive. And so, which doesn't make sense because it's the company, but sometimes, I mean, Glock, they still, as far as I know, they do factory magazines, but like some companies will buy a gun and it'll have an aftermarket magazine, and it's just usually not going to be as good. So when we're learning our craft and learning to be well regulated, make sure to buy enough of these guys too, because when you go to the range and train, what you want to do is have all your magazines loaded up, ready to do the work and the skills you're going to learn. So get enough of these guys so that you can go and train and not waste time loading up all your magazines, because that's something. I mean, you go to the range, you pay for like an hour, or they're all different, but sometimes they have like a limit of how much time you can be there. So load up your magazines before you get there, and buy several. Like you want to have enough magazines. You want to have duty magazines. You want to have range magazines. Whenever you use a magazine for duty use, like take it and train with it, and make sure that magazine's good. Like I would say at a minimum, shoot like. Obviously, if you just buy a gun right off the rack, you're gonna have to like just use the magazine that you have. But get in the practice of like testing your equipment. So take your magazines, like okay, these are my duty magazines. Shoot like at a minimum like 500 rounds to them, and if they're working for you well and you don't have any issues with them, then you know those are good mags, and that you can use those for duty use. So at a minimum 500 like to 1,000 rounds. And then like, you're good. You're like, okay, these are reliable. You've shot enough with them to know these magazines aren't like a fluke, right? I haven't had a fluke with any sort of Glock factory magazines, but just not just these ones, but any magazine like that there is. Like just test them out. Same thing with any firearm that you shoot. Like, if you're going to use that gun for a duty purpose, for self-defense or whatever it is, like, you need to train with it and put, like, at a minimum 500 rounds. I think, actually, honestly, you should do like 1,000 rounds. But 1,000 rounds through it, you know that gun's, like, reliable. Like 500 if you're on a budget, like, but you need to put rounds through it to know that gun works correctly. So yeah, just train with your stuff, make sure it's good to go, make sure it's working correctly, and they'll last. Like, these guys have lasted so long. It's impressive. It's really impressive. Like 15,000 rounds, 20,000 rounds, you know, plus, like, so many rounds to these, and I haven't had to change the springs or really anything. Like, they just work well. So they kind of sell themselves. If you guys want training, you guys know you can hit me up and train with us at the Well Regulated. Of course, just get good training. You don't have to do it with us. You can do it with Battleline Tactical. I've trained with those guys quite a bit, and those guys are great. You can go train with the Warrior Post Society with John Lovell, and he's also great. I've trained with him plenty. Like, go get some training and take good magazines with you, because you're going to want them. Alright guys, so that's about it. If you liked this video, please subscribe for more content, and see you on the next one.
Light up the building, raise up the torch. They want the power, I got the source. Signal the smoke and bring in the boys. Pull the alarm and bring in the noise.